Oregon takes on Stanford this Thursday night on ESPN. Should be the biggest game of the year for both teams. This game features two of the best defenses in the country, and when you've got a game like this one with two very strong defenses, it can be the play of your quarterback that decides which team goes home a winner and which team goes home a loser. So today we'll be looking at Stanford's Kevin Hogan and Oregon's Marcus Mariota and how they can perform in this game on Thursday night. In the 2012 showdown between these two teams, Hogan actually got the better of Mariota, completing a higher percentage of his passes, throwing for more yards, and winning the game is good too. But in 2013, Mariota is having a season for the ages. He's one of the Heisman frontrunners so far this year. 20 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. He's really having one of those special once-in-a-generation seasons. Kevin Hogan, as far as passing the ball, hasn't been asked to do a whole lot. He's been managing the games very well. He's only averaging about 13 and a half passes per game, which is not very many. I believe Stanford is 98th in the country in passing yards per game. And so he's really been most comfortable letting Tyler Gaffney in the run game do the dirty work, and Hogan is just there to keep defenses honest. We saw at the end of the Utah game, a couple of passes late down in the red zone were failed, and Stanford could not win that game. Kind of questionable play calling, but also Hogan couldn't convert on those, and Utah got the upset win. As far as both teams are concerned in terms of game planning, both teams really like to use the run as a way of enhancing the pass game. Stanford, clearly one of the heaviest run teams in the country. Tyler Gaffney is averaging over 20 carries a game. He's really been the workhorse for that Stanford offense, and their offensive line is very good and very deep, and they will use a lot of extra big guys on that offensive line to try and break big holes for Gaffney. And for Oregon, they do the same thing but in a different way, with a lot of, the read option and Mariota's legs being involved. And Byron Marshall has been sort of a revelation this season in the wake of DeAnthony Thomas's injury. And so both of these teams really like to use the run to set up the pass. Stanford likes to use a lot of play action. Oregon's entire offensive philosophy is one big play action of fakes and arms flailing everywhere, and you don't know where the ball is from time to time. And so there's a lot of deception involved, and that can help a pass game. In terms of just talent, Mariota's clearly got the edge in this one, really someone that can use his legs and have his legs as part of a game plan. Hogan will run, and he's a guy that can extend plays with his legs and scramble to pick up some yardage, but it's not like David Shaw and the offensive coaches for Stanford are going to be calling a lot of designed runs for Kevin Hogan. He's just not that kind of a running talent like a Marcus Mariota is, like a Johnny Manziel, like a Taylor Martinez at Nebraska, who's a very good runner. He's not that kind of player. He's more in the Keith Price mold of a guy that can use his legs if he needs to, but clearly he would be more comfortable in the pocket. As far as weapons goes, I've got to give the edge to Oregon on this one. Braylon Addison and Josh Huff and Keenan Lowe out wide, Johnny Mundt and Pharaoh Brown at tight end, and then the X factor in this is DeAnthony Thomas coming back onto the field. We only saw him for about a quarter and a half against UCLA. We haven't really seen him at 100% since Tennessee, and so it'll be really interesting to see how DeAnthony Thomas is used in the offense with the rise of Byron Marshall as a guy that can be the number one back. We've seen that 5 straight 100-yard games. Does DeAnthony Thomas go back into a pure running back mode, splitting some carries with Byron Marshall, or does he more become what he was as a freshman when Oregon had LaMichael James and Kenyon Barner in the backfield, and DeAnthony Thomas was used a lot out wide and just getting his talent and his speed in space? Because that adds a whole nother dimension, and that's something that Stanford, frankly, cannot practice for, is how is DeAnthony Thomas going to be used, and you can't replicate his speed either. For Stanford in the pass game, it's really Ty Montgomery is the number one guy. I believe he's got 39 pass receptions this season, which leads the team by a considerable amount. 5 touchdowns. He's a very special talent, but Oregon has seen teams so far this year where there's been one guy that's really the guy in the pass game, Paul Richardson at Colorado being the most obvious example of that. And that's going to do you good for a couple of drives a game, but that's not necessarily something that's going to be a successful offensive plan for 60 minutes. So somebody else, whether that's Tyler Gaffney out of the backfield, Devin, I think you pronounce his name Cajustes, but I prefer to pronounce his name Cajuste because, come on, that's so much fun to say. Cajuste. I'm man enough to admit I lay in bed some nights and just say Cajuste to myself over and over again because it's comforting. Cajuste. Cajuste. It sounds like an owl or something, or some sort of sprightly Pokemon that doesn't use a big, like, they don't throw rocks or something. They use attacks like Leaf or Evade or something like that. This took a turn. Anyway, back to the game. Somebody else is going to have to step up in the Stanford pass game because I expect Oregon to heavily bog down against that run game and force Kevin Hogan to try and win the game with his arm, which is something he has not done yet this year. And Oregon secondary can wrap up one guy. It's going to take 2 or 3 guys in the Stanford pass game to really make a dent and then by proxy open up that run game. Otherwise, Tyler Gaffney is going to be the main focus of the Oregon front seven, and he's going to have to work for his yards. And if the Stanford pass game isn't going too well, this isn't going to work out very well for the Cardinal. For my game prediction, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Vine at Takimoto23X. I will throw up that game prediction sometime on Thursday before the game begins. As always, the place to be if you can't be at Stanford Stadium watching the Ducks, which is where I will be. Hey, be at the AddictedToQuack.com game thread. It is the place on the internet to talk about your Ducks while the game action is going on. SB Nation has the best comments section on the internet. The best. That's a guarantee. You won't find one better out there. SB Nation is the place. Addicted to Quack is your home for Oregon Ducks on SB Nation. Join us in the game thread. Stay tuned today and tomorrow for more news and analysis about your Ducks, and we will catch you after the game. For AddictedToQuack.com, this is Takimoto. Go Ducks.